Hello, my name's Jack Pearson. It's great to be here with you all. I started this channel because I want to share something amazing with you all. Meditation can change your life. Meditation will change your life. Meditation will help you recognize the human condition for what it really is. A lot of people say they can't meditate. I say this to friends. I say, you should really try meditation. They say, I don't know how to meditate. I can't meditate. It's too hard. There's no such thing as not being able to meditate. If you're a conscious human being, you can meditate. Meditation is simply paying attention to the contents of consciousness. That's it. Okay, it's that simple. Let's do a quick, 30-second meditation together. Okay, I'm going to close my eyes. I can feel my hands resting on the countertop. I can feel my toes resting on the bars of the stool I'm sitting on. I can feel my backside against the stool. I can feel my body in space. A cloud of sensation. Now I'm noticing the breath. As it travels into the nose, it tickles my nostrils just a tiny bit. It travels out of my nostrils, it tickles them just ever so slightly. Feel the breath travel all the way up through my nostrils, right up to the back. I'm staring into the darkness behind my eyes, behind my closed eyes. But it's not totally dark. It is, as Sam Harris puts it, it's illuminated by the lights in the external environment. It's not totally dark. I can hear things too. I can hear the humming of something outside. I can hear the occasional jingling of some wind chimes, occasional passing by of cars. So you'll see what I'm doing here is opening my attention to the contents of consciousness. I can even do this with my eyes open. There is no difference. I'm staring into my visual field just as I would with my eyes closed. There's nothing special about having the eyes closed. It might be a bit easier to pay attention, especially when you're starting out, but there's nothing magical about it. There's something else I can notice too. So just in that brief period just then, I noted the sensations of touch, the sensations of visual stimuli. Even with my eyes closed, there are still visual stimuli to pay attention to, and auditory stimuli, so sounds. And the breath, which is a combination of touch. I can feel it going in my nostrils. I can hear it. So that combines those two forms of stimuli. There's something else too that I can notice. Thoughts. Thoughts are the tricky ones. The things that torment us. The things that can destroy us if we let them. What are they really though? They're much less tangible than those other stimuli that I was just talking about. So what are they really? They're phantoms. They're specters. They're almost like ghosts that appear as we perceive it inside our heads. Really inside our heads? In reality, no, but that's the way we often perceive it. I can make things appear on the basis of thoughts in front of my eyes too. I can stare at the kitchen and I can imagine a candle just burning and flickering right in front of me. it's not literally there, but I can see it. If I try hard enough, a long white candle, orange, bright, flickering flame, I can make that seem to appear in my visual field with my eyes open. With them closed, it's much easier. It's the exact same thing. It's not really there, but I'm imagining it to be there. And that's what every thought is. It's something we imagine to be real, but it's not real, you know? So many people, as I said, are tormented by our thoughts. I believe it was the Buddha who said that our thoughts have tormented us for countless past lives. You know, in the Bible, Judas, the disciple who betrayed Christ, he went and hung himself in the field after he betrayed Christ. Why? Because his thoughts got the better of him. You know, he was tormented by guilt. What's guilt? It's a thought, a feeling, an emotion. It manifests in this same condition. You know, it's a phantom, it's a spectre. But it can seem so real to us. And it can drive us to do terrible, terrible things. You know? Now, as I'm meditating, going back to the meditation, I can notice thoughts too. So we covered, you know, touch stimuli, auditory stimuli, visual stimuli, the feeling of the breath, which encompasses both touch stimuli and auditory stimuli. Now thoughts. What am I thinking about? A tomato just appeared in my thoughts. Big, bright red tomato with green leaves. Now it's on the front of a Heinz bottle. Now someone's picking it up and putting it on their toast. Gross, tomato sauce and toast. It's a miserable bloody breakfast. Now a cartoon character is eating it. When I pay attention to this thought, what's going to happen? It disintegrates. It dissipates into nothing and disappears up into the ether like every other thought. Like everything eventually does. You know, nothing is permanent. Everything is temporary. Thoughts are especially impermanent. They are especially temporary. They are incredibly transient. This is their only intrinsic quality, that they are incredibly transient and not even real. So if you want to try some meditation for yourself, I would encourage you to do just that. To sit in a comfortable position, try and keep your back relatively straight. Hands on your knees or your thighs, or just cupped here in front of you, it doesn't really matter. Just be comfortable and just pay attention to the contents of consciousness. Okay? Feel your back against the chair, your feet against the floor, your hands on your thighs. You know, feel the breath going up your nostrils and out. You know, feel all of that, experience all of that. Your mind's gonna run. Your mind is gonna run. Don't worry about it. Just watch it run and pay attention to those thoughts. What happens when you pay attention to them? They dissolve, they dissipate, they vanish on up into the ether. By following this practice of meditation, I can guarantee that you will be a happier individual. I'm someone that suffered a lot in my life. That's the truth. I've suffered a lot. We all suffer. To live is to suffer. But, you know, I am someone who had a great deal of trouble with regulating my emotions, you know, recognizing that my emotions were controlling me, you know, understanding why I was sad, why I was angry, why I felt however I felt. Like, you know, I didn't understand these things, and it's been a long journey for me. And Meditation is something that allows us to be more in touch with reality and stop living in the world of phantoms and specters and ghosts, which, in other words, are our thoughts. Recognize them for what they are: incredibly impermanent, temporary, quick to disappear up into the ether. Thoughts, feelings, emotions, it's all the same thing. And that's not to say some emotions aren't incredibly valid and real, like your love for your child as a parent, the grief you feel when you lose a loved one. These are real things, and very, very strong emotions, and you know, there's nothing wrong with feeling them. But what we must be aware of is the fact that to be lived by our thoughts and to be controlled by our thoughts is to exacerbate our suffering, to be many, many times what it must be. Like, as I said, to live is to suffer. To be caught up in the world of your thoughts, feelings and emotions, and to be lived by them instead of just watching them vanish and disappear into the ether, that is true suffering. It's an awful way to suffer. It might not be as tangible as starving to death or dying of thirst, but it can be every bit as miserable. That's the truth. It can be every bit as miserable. And it's it's infinitely more controllable than those two things. We can't always control if we have access to food and clean drinking water. Many, many millions, if not billions around the world have neither of these things. But the one thing we all have is our mind. The one thing we can all offer others in any given moment is our mind. So when we just drop back, relax, pay attention to the contents of consciousness, direct our attention to what we can touch, hear, see, that feeling of the breath in and out of the nostrils, we can create a sense of detachment where we can pay attention to our thoughts, feelings, and emotions and recognize them for what they truly are. Ghosts, specters, phantoms that have no right to control us, hurt us, or make us suffer. They have no power to do so either unless we give them that power. It is entirely within our own control. I want this channel to be a place where we can all grow, learn, laugh, and love together. I really do mean that. A paradise within thee, happier far. It's a line from John Milton's epic poem, Paradise Lost, where, long story short, it dictates the fall of man, the fall of Adam and Eve out of the Garden of Eden because of their sin, because of Eve and Adam eating the apple, which was offered to them by Satan. Now, at the end of the poem, God and the Archangel Michael are explaining to Adam and Eve that, they're falling out of paradise. They're going to obviously fall into the world where they will suffer and as God said to Adam, dust thou art, and unto the dust shalt thou return. By the sweat of thy brow, thou will eat bread. Like, meaning you're gonna have to work. You're gonna have to work to eat, and you're gonna suffer until you go back into the dust from which you came, because you are dust. Because God took Adam out of the ground and breathed life into him in Genesis. And anyway, the Archangel Michael says to Adam and Eve, look, you're going to fall out of paradise, you're going to suffer, it's going to be awful, but you're going to have the chance for redemption through Jesus Christ. And further, you will have the chance to build a paradise within thee, happier far. Now, obviously the poem is written in an antiquated form of English, so a paradise within thee, happier far means a paradise within yourself, which is far happier than the one that you knew in Eden. Because the paradise in Eden was one which they didn't need to work for. They were created in it, and that's all they'd ever known. the paradise within yourself that you can create after suffering so much is going to be far happier because you've had to work for it. You've known what suffering is, and therefore you have a baseline of suffering and misery to compare the true paradise to, which is the paradise within yourself, the one you've had to work for and suffer in order to create. So yeah, that's why that's where the handle of this channel comes from. And yeah, I want this to be a place where we can all learn and grow together. And you know, the main things that have influenced me would be, honestly, first and foremost, Christianity. I am a Catholic. I have been a very lapsed Catholic at various parts of my life, but yeah, I am a Catholic. Stoicism has influenced me tremendously. The works of Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca, and Buddhism has been a tremendous influence upon me as well. I'm not a Buddhist, but I have, taken up the practice of meditation, which has been tremendously beneficial for me. And I have read some Buddhist texts, which I find very enlightening and full of wisdom. And yeah, so I guess that's a bit about me. And, I want us all to help each other and to bring the best out of ourselves because, we're in difficult times, and all we have to offer in this time and in any other time are our minds. And if we can nourish them and, help them grow and develop and get stronger, then we're going to live in a better world. So yeah, that's all from me for this video, guys. God bless you, God love you, and I'll speak to you soon. Goodbye.